Hello. There is a hell of a lot more of you now. Big thanks to Valrak for checking out my previous video on stream. It's so nice to see the support of the community through this, and there will be more of those coming. I just want to use this video as a little bit of another introduction. The main purpose of this channel was originally just to do my hobby journey. I'd been a part of, obviously, the sphere of Warhammer for 4-ish years, but I never got the chance to actually embrace the hobby until after I'd left. And I wanted to showcase something that not a lot of people do, which is a complete beginner's journey with all the mistakes involved, and just sort of explaining those mistakes and trying to get new people to see that it's okay if you mess up. It's not a big problem. Like, there's always ways around it. You can always be happy with fuck-ups as well, you know? We're in a world where everything that's online is meant to be perfect, and I don't really agree with that, and I don't believe that that's a very healthy way to bring in new people that want to get started in any hobby, really. I always thought that I wasn't really interested in painting 40k miniatures, and to be quite frank, I'm still not. But I saw this guy online. This is a sanctioned psyker from the, I do believe, the 3rd edition of 40k, released in 2003, as it says on the bottom of the mini. And I picked this guy up for like less than £2. If you want to find really cheap, cool minis, like just look around. You can find so many cool like Oldhammer stuff for really cheap. And if you know me and have spent like more than 5 minutes talking to me about minis, you'll know that I absolutely adore Oldhammer. Granted, this isn't proper Oldhammer. It's older than some of the painting tutorial presenters on the official Warhammer channel. So, you know, and they see us as ancient. So after doing the Zenithal, it's Rogue Pink and Peachy Peach, I think it is. There's a couple of the Colourforge range that I still want to pick up, especially some of the new ones. They look fantastic. But I knew that this would make for a really, really nice base coat for the skin that I wanted to do for this Psyker. And for the main colour of the skin, I just used Army Painter's Grotesque Green. Surprisingly, I've done a blue and gold scheme. And if it isn't too obvious with what I've said in the past, I can't stand Ultramarines. It isn't really because of anything to do with the Ultramarines themselves. It's more just the fact that working at Games Workshop, you are surrounded by Ultramarines, like everywhere, every corridor, every meeting room. You'll go by somewhere, like you know what they say about rats, where it's like you're always like a couple of fucking meters away from a rat. Well, you work in Games Workshop, you're always a couple of meters away from a fucking either bit of Ultramarine art or a painted mini or just anything. They're always there. In fact, there was this one time where we had the annual general meeting. They'd filled our corridor with artwork for all the shareholders to not give a shit about. And you can see it on a couple of the shorts that they posted. I can't remember exactly what it was, but these were just like cut out stickers. And people were really, really mad because there isn't a Ultramarine until you get into the very end room. And they were like, why is this not front and center? And it's like, look, if you've ever been into the reception, there is a giant fucking, like, Ultramarine mural in the reception. We just don't need more. Like, there are other factions that exist. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear the passion of hatred that I have for these guys. I don't want to hate them anymore. It's kind of annoying. I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of really cool parts of the universe. I've heard a lot of great things about No Fear. Is it No Fear? Is that what it's called? No Fear. No Fear. No Fear. That must be really hard for non-English speakers. And I'd say it's safe to say that I was fatigued from the poster children of 40k. And in general, like, I'm just not that much of a fan. Castartes just don't do anything for me. There's just something that doesn't enable my brain to go, this looks cool, this is something that I care that much about. There are definitely some miniatures that I want to paint from the range, but you ain't gonna catch me painting incestors. You know what I'm saying? But these old Psykers, it just scratches that little brain itch. It's unsurprising that I'm a huge fan of Rogue Trader, both the Owlcat game and the books itself. And I just love that more sort of human element to 40k. I find that a lot more interesting than big beefy man in big beefy armor. Maybe that's just me. I feel like it's more impressive that a Imperial Guardsman is still alive after a day. The whole purpose is to be a part of the meat grinder, and if they're managing to defy that through pure fate, luck, or Chaos Gods, it doesn't really matter. I just think it's fucking cool. I'm no sort of master of the lore. I wouldn't even say I'm that knowledgeable on it. I feel like them being like this necessary evil in the Imperium, you know, and they're just going to be flesh bags for Chaos to use as puppets at some point. But speaking of lore, I am currently in process of recording some videos that is going to be looking at the lore of Warhammer. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more innovative rather than me just talking to you. We'll see how it goes. You might hate it, you might not, but you might see some faces that you recognize. And I'm sure you'll would like that. I really enjoyed the general process of painting this guy and just seeing what I can do with colours that don't really interest me that much in painting. As this comes together, I can see more and more of the idea shaping, and it's nice. It's nice to see the way that I've progressed over the last couple of painting videos. Yeah, seeing that progression, seeing where I've sort of changed, where I've slowed down in some places, and where I'm starting to understand a little bit more about recess shading and doing bits like highlighting. This is the first miniature that I've not dry brushed. I always feel like with dry brushing, I can take it too far. I think I'm still in that mindset now where I don't really know what is a good stopping point, especially for certain details, and you can probably see that on this miniature itself. Obviously there's a lot of times during this, especially around the belt and the gold, I decided to do the recesses last on some places, and I don't understand why I've done that. I guess this is kind of the problem of coming back and forth to a project. Whilst this miniature didn't have that many days in between shoots, it certainly still had some where I come back to it and I'd just completely forgotten that I needed to do a certain part of it. And I do feel like one of my biggest hurdles in learning is just the simple fact of when do I stop? The face itself, I feel like I've got to a really good place with it, and I just left it alone. It wasn't that I didn't want to do more to it, because I absolutely did, but I feel like that was probably a good spot. And I feel like when you get to a point where you're comfortable enough to recognize that you're satisfied with something, with a part of a miniature or just a whole project in general, I feel like that's when you're really starting to learn. And one of the parts that I like the most about this miniature is just the lighter parts on the blue. I feel like the definition is really, really nice. And one thing I didn't do in this was an all-over shade. I have over-relied on shades and dry brushing to sort of tie things together, but unfortunately, instead of tying it together, it's just melded everything into one. Whereas on this, you can kind of clearly see the recesses, you can clearly see where the shadows are starting to properly form, and where there's some parts of wear and tear on the uniform, like on the knees. I wanted to try and add that to be a faded thing rather than a light thing, so I wanted to get across this idea that this psyker had basically been in his uniform for a long fucking time. Even looking at the miniature now, it's nice to see the definition on the edge highlights and some of the little subtle lighter parts. I feel like I've captured the shadows quite well. It's something that I don't personally feel like I'm that great at, so it's nice to see that this is kind of working. And oh, it looks like on the actual miniature I've bent the Aquila. Oh yeah, I have. I always expected metal miniatures to be a bit sturdier. But interestingly, I've not done the base. I don't know why, I just didn't really have the inspiration for it. My diorama was so heavy on the base. I think I just wanted to put all my focus into this miniature itself. The gold over the pink was just really, really good. I still had a lot of trouble with the staff and the robe. There's still, even after many, many correction passes, there's still gold on the robe, and it's annoying, but this is kind of what it goes back to, is embracing these mistakes. And you can fix all of your mistakes, but I also feel like it's also good to keep in some of them just so that you remember yourself. You can look back and you can go, oh yeah, there's a problem right there. Obviously this was entirely pre-assembled. I definitely would have changed a couple of parts of it if I could have done. I'm over the moon with how good this head's come out. Like, it might not be the greatest looking thing, but for me, like, damn, I feel like it's exactly what I wanted from it. These horrible sunken eyes with like no actual eyeballs in it. The grotesque green is just really giving it like an Uncle Fester kind of look. I did put a little bit of shading on the forehead and just wiped it away. I feel like there's a lot you can do by just wiping away the paint. It nicely feathers some bits and also removes it off of the raised details and just keeps it in the recesses there. This might be the best mini I've done. I don't really personally rank them. Maybe I should do that. Hold myself to account to be more critical and more constructive in retrospect about my paint jobs. I'm glad I picked the gold rather than just going for like a standard worn metal. There's something kind of cool about this horrible grotesque thing still covered in gold. I'm really happy with this. I am glad that I went ahead with it. There's just been this sort of complete undesire to paint 40k. There's a lot of AOS and there's a lot of Necromunda and old world stuff that I desperately want to paint, but I do have some like Death Guard that I'm going to paint up. I've probably got more not Death Guard, Maggotkin. I've got more of those to paint up than anything. I desperately want to explore a full sort of grimdark scheme. I've been going a little bit colourful recently. There's nothing wrong with liking whimsy and the grim, you know? There's no wrong with that at all. Thank you for watching this. As always, I appreciate it more than anything. There's no reason for you to spend your time listening to this twat, but thank you for all those that do and for all those that have shared my channel and have been watching for a while. Like, I'm noticing new regulars now. It's quite humbling and heartwarming. It's nice. It's a nice feeling. So, you know, all the YouTube things supposedly you have to tell people, because otherwise people don't know, apparently. Just in case you've woken up from a coma and, you know, this is your first YouTube video, I'm sorry. But if you do a little comment and like it or share it, I don't know, Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky as well. I don't really use it. I can't really be bothered with more socials. Mostly just stick to Instagram, to be honest. Right, yeah, I'm rambling now because, as I said in the last one, like, I don't know how people sign off videos.